Welcome to the monthly webinar for the local governments and municipal authorities constituency towards the UN 30th Climate Conference of Parties, COP30, in the November in this year. My name is Yunus Sarık, and I'm the Director of Global Advocacy, and I'm leading this webinar series in my capacity as the LGMA focal point. As our usual practice, we are allowing all our colleagues to settle. So I think in 30 seconds, we will keep further. So just we want to ask for your patience. In the meantime, this is the agenda that we'd like to take through, but we'll kick off just in a couple of seconds more. Give us one more time. Okay, I think we have reached our maturation of our participant access to our webinar once again. This is a monthly webinar series that is scheduled every third Wednesday. It is repeated in 2 time zones for the Eastern and Western hemispheres. It is recorded and it is made available on the YouTube channel. And you will also receive the presentation of the links afterwards. In running this webinar, every month we take a more, let's say, a regular agenda item, which is a recap from COP29, but taking on the updates of what's going on. And we have debates on the NDCs, which is the biggest topic of this year. And then we also conclude with our agendas of the calendar and the town hall calls, which is another agenda that will follow this year. In some webinars, as in our practice last month, for example, we were joined by Rodrigo Fur from Association of President Municipalities. We have guests, either the inner teams of the LGMA constituency or guests like, as I mentioned, ABM colleagues or COP presidencies or UNFCCC colleagues. Today's webinars, we can also expect some of our, especially the lead partners of the LGMA constituency, to join by providing updates. But particularly this year, today we would also like to use around 8 minutes of our time to listen to or to hear from a very specific spatial message from COP30 presidency, which I will touch upon it in a minute in the agenda. So with this, let's proceed with our presentation. This may be familiar with many of you. Who is LGMA? Who are we? We are the voice of towns, cities, regions in the UN process since '95, since the first COP. So we are one of the most committed stakeholder constituency of the UNSC process. We influence the negotiation agendas by submitting our positions. We contribute to the action agenda by champions. We support the presidencies in shaping their priorities so that there is a continuity between the previous years and the future processes and the UNFCCC negotiation, obviously. And we also connect with our parties. They are the ones who primarily are the ones who decide on those decisions. And especially with those in the Friends of Multi-Level Action, we have much more active dialogue. And of course, the definition of Friends of Multi-Level Action is also a bit dynamic because nations can change their position. Some countries may be very active, but depending on the national priorities changing, they may also change positions, and we have seen this in the past a couple of times, and that's part of the life that we have to respect to the national discussions. But of course, through our local engagement at the national, we're also trying to make sure that we are present and active at all levels. So today is excuse me. You can see the calendar of our webinars in the past and in the future. And once you register, you can have yourself subscribe to all these calendar. And we also encourage you to register yourself for our monthly bulletins, because that is the moment where you can share many of those discussions with their links and with additional updates as well. We are in the fourth phase of the climate action since '92 when the UNFCCC was adopted. The first one was the period when we were recognized as a constituency, but we were not involved in the process. So the first 10 years was relatively weak. Then when they were trying to make a new climate regime to be announced in Copenhagen, we kicked off our roadmap, recognition, engagement, and empowerment. With this failure of Copenhagen, we didn't give up and we continued to work for building the multilateral system where we are much more stronger because we know that the failure of global systems will also damage us at the local level. In that regard, we reached the Paris Agreement, which is our milestone achievement, recognition of importance of all levels of government. And in this period, then afterwards, we have exploded inside the UNFCCC, outside the UNFCCC. We have the Glasgow Climate Pact, recognition of the multi-level, the term multi-level in the preamble. Then we have Dubai stocktake decision on 161, which is recognizing, which is urging parties for multi-level action. And in between, we have initiatives, Surge, Champ, and MAP by the COP presidencies subsequently. And in Baku, we also had achieved significant progress on the mitigation work program. So we're using our website for our engagement in the process. From Baku examples that we have multiple fora of engagement at COP. We expect this to be adjusted now with the realities and the conditions in Belém. And we are also saying that the road to Belém is also equally important. I will touch upon this, especially when we come to the announcement from the presidency and when with our discussions with our LGMA partners about how we schedule ourselves into this process. We will be using effectively our position paper, and as we have agreed in the past couple of weeks, we are aiming to have it much more available earlier so that we use this, especially to our leaders who use this at their national efforts. Obviously, we have been saying that this year work at home is even more important than ever because of the multi-level indices. So the value of this position and key elements, I will touch upon this in the COP30 updates as well. Of course, we will adjust, but we will stick to this a two-page document, 3 or 4 particularly priority fields and dig into deeper with their positions, asks, but also updates from our side. We will continue to use our websites for keeping our documents, materials, submissions, videos, and of course, we are making serious progress for launching the road to the COP30 hub, cities and regions hub at the COP30 blue zone, but probably in a much more improved capacity and shape. But more updates are coming in the next couple of weeks for that. But stay tuned. We are definitely planning to be even much better, knowing that this COP will be recognized as a unique moment in time, a kind of a game changer. We can comfortably say that this will be an urban COP30. Among some of the other descriptions or adjectives, urban will be one of the strongest ones. Let's remember, when we go to Belém, we are recognizing all the decisions that has been adopted or not adopted to conclude, so that we are talking about the conclusion of a 2 years process. In that regard, we have seen continuous updates from the presidency's planning, and we will touch upon this. There is an important thing. We still don't know who is the high-level climate action champion. We have the official designation of André Del Lago as Minister of Foreign Affairs, from Minister of Foreign Affairs as the COP30 President designate. And we have a new mandated position created by the Brazilian government, Ana Tony as the Minister of Environment, Secretary of Minister of Environment, as the COP30 CEO. The usual UNFCCC nominations is that there will be a high-level climate action champion, which we don't know who this person is yet. There's a youth climate champion, which is in another mandated body of the UNFCCC or mandated assigned position under the Paris Agreement decisions. Interestingly, COP30 presidents is calling for applications to define the youth climate champion, but for the high level, they are not following such a process. We don't know who will be the subnational focal point at this stage. And one of the most critical points is that knowing that the intergovernmental arrangement so strong, and especially knowing that Minister of Cities will also play a huge role because of their domestic law, but also the division of the climate federalism, we would still like to understand what role the Minister of Cities and the constitutional council of the Brazilian government will have any role in this process. So that fine details are still yet to be clarified, but we are making progress. There is a very good progress. Here we say advisory board, but it will be coming in the next slide, saying that there are serious new announcements coming from the Brazilian presidency. I want to check with you our calendar that we have used before. We have used the January version of this calendar, February version of this calendar, and as of today, we now can say that the March version is also available, especially if you look this chapter. So if you look at this visual, let's remember that the yellow represents the processes beyond the UN. So that's mainly driven by individual national and global processes like G7, G20, or individually country-led processes. The blues are the ones that the UN system, UNFCCC or UN system, and the green ones are the ones that are driven by LGMA partners. So we have seen that June will be particularly very busy. November will be also a peak. What we have seen in a couple of new announcements. For example, OECD, a very strong actor, is now calling for their first ever in-person urban days in Paris. Similarly, we're expecting that an Urban 7 Mayor Summit to be scheduled and more details to come. Latin America Regional Climate Week has been announced to be hosted in Panama. Obviously, there's also another Africa Climate Week. ASEAN, with an important intergovernmental process in Asia, is convening, is chaired by Malaysia, and Mayor of Kuala Lumpur, Maimuna Sharif, is committed to convene an ASEAN Mayors Forum. If you have noticed, this year a strong emphasis is on Latin America and Africa because of the Brazil's BRICS leadership, COP30 leadership, and South Africa as the G20. But through ASEAN, I think Asia will also be starting to remind us that we are talking about global contribution. So I think it's a very good initiative that Mayor Maimuna Sharif, who is still the member of the COP29 International Advisory Board, is taking this leap. But we will, of course, follow. More progress is coming up on the UN events and on finance, ocean, and it is to be continued, knowing that, especially with this global processes going on, the outcomes may be a bit difficult. With a bit exception, which is the biodiversity COP. Meanwhile, I see from Camilla from Global Cities Up the terminology to be corrected, that it is not UNECE Forum of Mayors, but it's the UN Forum of Mayors. We will reflect this change, Camilla. Thanks for your sharp eyes always and contribution in this process. The Global Cities Hub, based in Geneva, of course, will also help us to actively contribute to this process as well. An important agenda is the date for COP30 summit, and I will get back to this later on as well. So, as we said before, in the upcoming March bulletin of LGMA, you will see the revised calendar of this. And I assume by the end of this month, we will also have our LGMA COP30 website also to be up and running, so that this information could be much carefully tracked as well. Other events we can come back in the Q&A, but I think these are the latest updates that we should be aware of. As we said, our monthly webinars is also trying to track what has been announced and what has been updated since then. So if we look at this three let's say work streams, this past weeks was particularly very active for COP30 presidency. They made several announcements, which is very, very important, because now we can see the direction of where this COP is coming up. First of all, we have received a Troika letter, which is the Emirates, Baku, or Azerbaijan, and the Brazilian government, which is particularly mandated for the NDCs and 1.5 degrees. So that is giving us some vision. We have the first official presidency vision, which is called Mutirao vision. It's a 10-page long document. It is an impressive document, I must confess. It's one of the best I have ever seen, and actually it is not surprising for those like us who have been in this process, because Ambassador Dalago and Brazilian government has been an instrumental since 92 when the UNFCCC was born in Rio, the country and the city that Brazil was hosting. They have been working a lot to make this event a really like a reboost after 35 years or 30 years later Rio. I think that's exactly the spirit, and the document with new additional points, it's definitely giving us the mandate. What I would suggest that we will be coming to that one is that we should be, as LGMA, we should be reacting to that. And I think the best moment for reaction is that the Petersburg Climate Dialogue, which is taking place on the 25th and 26th of March, which is next week already. But I think we can come back to this in the Q&A this discussion. But the contents, this gives us the confidence that will be very ambitious, knowing that it is under a very huge pressure. And we believe some hints in this document gives us the confidence that urban COP30 is something that we can definitely describe for COP30. Baku-Belém roadmap is also announced by COP28 and COP29 presidents. This is the 1.3 trillion dollars journey for 2035. We will get back to this, especially if I have colleagues from our finance working group, maybe they can comment on it. But whether this money is available, a big question, which our concern is that this money is not there anymore, especially with the latest announcements, with not just from US, but also from the European countries, that they are shrinking their official development assistance and international solidarity fund. So a big question is that it's not anymore the scale of this money, but whether this is realistic to expect this money. And if not, what are the opportunities we can offer, and what are the consequences of this to our governments in the north and south, the cities and regions in the north and south. Um, and in that sense, I think we have to be inspired from the vision that came from the biodiversity summit, and we can touch upon it because they also agreed for 200 billion. This is an additional to 300 billion. They have much more broader vision of incorporating private money. So there are a lot of lessons learned we can learn from each other, and that's a good signal. Being aware the conditions of biodiversity are much different than the climate negotiations, such as, for example, U.S. has never been party to the biodiversity, or the leadership from Colombia was remarkable. This doesn't make any reference to the leadership in the UNFCCC, but obviously such a passion has played a huge role. A very important announcement came a couple of days ago that the COP30 summit will be on 6th and 7th of November. This is 5 days before the official COP starts. This is a very good strategic move. I think Brazil demonstrates that they have a huge thinking of how to make sure that in a city like 1 million people of Belém, which is not a capital city, which is far from the infrastructure of international flights or international hospitalities, can still accommodate to welcome thousands of participants. By having the Leaders Summit 5 days before, definitely they are reducing the stress on logistical challenges. We still hope there will be observers engagement in this Leaders Summit, because Brazil was the first country to introduce G20 Social Summit. So there will be some engagement. We don't know yet the details, but it is good that the leaders come to Belém, they meet in Belém, they meet Amazonia, they meet Amazonian conditions, and then they give the directions to their ministers, who will be then taking the negotiations for the next 2 weeks. That also helps that the logistical arrangements will be much easier. So this gives a huge confidence that Belém will be a success. Petersburg Climate Dialogue is something that we will, for the first time, hear from Anatoni and Ambassador Dalago and many national governments. The agenda is impressive, and it's a time where we will have more clarity, and maybe we can expect the announcement of the Brazilian high-level champion as well. For the time being, I will be representing LGMA in my capacity as the focal point for this meeting. From the LGMA side, by the way, let's check. There are some links. Oscar from Rwanda. Oscar is asking about Africa Climate Week. Definitely, let's get back to this, Oscar. Definitely, we want to see Ralga as a very, very passionate partner of the LGMA to be actively involved. And I heard you recently had also very nice updates from your NDC engagement. Feel free to, if you want to share your experience. I know from some updates from Dominic, Secretary General, but it will be good to hear from you. If you wish, we can offer you to that as well. Um, Excellent. Amela is here from the GCOM side to give us some updates on Champ. Let's then proceed so that then we can come back to this. Amela, I will invite you after we do video from Ambassador Delaga if you want. It may be helpful. So and then you see some of those documents are already referenced. For example, the Urban Shift Africa, the Champ Resources, Tunisia. Feel free to refer this when you intervene. Committee of the Regions have convened an important meeting. The global and European networks were discussing because of the Committee of the Regions position paper process is coming early in the year. It's completed by June. That is an opportunity for us to interact and exchange. And Committee of the Regions has been a pioneer in the leadership. So we have advantages for this kind of leadership and collaboration. We will hear a very interesting video from Ambassador Da Costa and Ambassador Del Lago. That was through the opportunity of the New Mayors Forum. Sydney Town Hall COP was convened last week. I will touch upon this in the next slide after Amelia's updates. We will have an important agenda in Brasilia. So Brasilia will continue to have a number of events, and it started with the New Mayors Forum. Now there is the first green and resident cities and champ implementation. I'm not sure whether there will, Amelia, if you would like to refer to this in your message. But one thing that is relevant for us is that we will convene the first kickoff workshop for creation of the LGMA COP30 Brazil National Coordination Group, and that will be, I think, creating a good added value. And just today, City of Yokohama, together with Minister of Environment of Japan and IGES, supported by ICLE, have hosted an interesting event, which is following on the official lead authors meeting of the IPCC Special Report on Cities, so that more things are moving from that direction. From the UNFCCC relevant updates, I mentioned about the biodiversity finance decision. Nature finance decision. And as I said, the important thing is that this goes to the same ministers, more or less. They will have a responsibility to have and even more money to be raised by 2030 and 2035, knowing that Global North is cutting its budget for international support. So that question remains there, but having the commitment from the nature community is extremely valuable. When the times of crisis, then the globalism is questioned, a UN decision and a very difficult decision, adoption of such a decision is very, very unique and important. I will touch upon the NDCs. Amal, I'm not sure whether you want to focus on that as well, but we are seeing some new NDCs. The first wave, let's say, was concluded. We have now around 7 to 10 NDCs, most of them coming from the champ endorsers, but others as well, which is giving us the chance that we are on the right track to elevate it. I'm not sure whether we will have colleagues from UN Habitat who will also are releasing their guidance to support this process. We mentioned about the climate weeks and the submissions are coming. One thing that I have not mentioned here, but what we also heard, the mitigation work program will focus on waste and circularity in the sixth dialogue in September or October, which is very good because that is a topic that we are working a lot. And we also know on the high-level champions, there's a discussion about food waste to be another breakthrough. So these kind of agendas, the informalities are coming up so that a number of processes are finding their route to the COP30. That is again giving us that all these additions are strengthening our vision for a urban COP30 roadmap. As I said, the three documents from Amazonia, COP30 president is important. And so we have been following, and there were participants from global partners as well, but most of the Brazilian partners were there. A meeting was concluded, the New Mayors Forum. We have a very interesting message from those people who led this process. In names, Ambassador Del Lago, COP30 President Designate, Antonio da Costa, International Advisor of Minister of Cities, and Axel Grael, the former mayor of Niterói, but who's currently the vice president of the Federation of National Front of Mayors, who will be handing over to the new leadership by 8 to 10 of April in Brasilia in 2 weeks' time. But let's hear how they are sharing their reflections for COP30. And I'm very grateful for my colleague Rodrigo Perpetuo to moderate this dialogue. So, um, uh, Johanna, are you able to show the video so that then we can hand over to our colleagues from LGMA to contribute their updates? Okay, let's go ahead. Good.
Olá, meu nome é Rodrigo Perpétuo, eu sou o secretário executivo do ICLEI para a América do Sul, e é uma satisfação apresentar esse painel sobre a COP30 na sessão Daring Seats sobre o que vem depois da COP29. Nesse painel, nós vamos ouvir o depoimento do presidente da COP, embaixador André Correia do Lago. Em seguida, nós escutaremos um depoimento do embaixador Antônio da Costa, chefe da assessoria internacional do Ministério das Cidades do Governo Federal Brasileiro. E, para finalizar, nós ouviremos o ex-prefeito de Niterói e atual líder de ação climática no Conselho Global do ICLEI, Axel Grael. Então, com vocês, o embaixador André Correia do Lago, presidente da COP30 no Brasil.
As cidades têm um papel absolutamente essencial no combate à mudança do clima, porque a escala das cidades é uma etapa muito importante para que boas ideias e soluções possam ser testadas. Muitas vezes, o governo central só pode começar um programa se pode assegurar que todo o país possa seguir. Um país imenso como o Brasil e tantos outros, as cidades é que são o local onde as coisas acontecem, começam e são os exemplos que os outros podem seguir.
Muito importante esse depoimento do embaixador André Correia do Lago, reafirmando o compromisso brasileiro na perspectiva de integrar outros atores e, principalmente, valorizando a participação de prefeitos e prefeitas, a participação dos governos subnacionais na construção, na edificação da agenda da COP30, a COP da Amazônia, a COP de Belém. Agora nós vamos ouvir o depoimento e a intervenção do embaixador Antônio da Costa, chefe da assessoria internacional do Ministério das Cidades, que tem sido um grande parceiro, foi assim na COP29 de Baku, foi assim também na COP28 de Dubai, na COP27 de Sharm el-Sheikh, no sentido de integrar as agendas do clima com a nova agenda urbana, na perspectiva de materialização da agenda climática no contexto das cidades.
Essa parceria do Ministério das Cidades com o ICLEI na iniciativa Daring Cities, a gente considera super importante, porque ela faz parte de um conjunto de ações que o Ministério das Cidades tenciona levar a termo, de agora até a COP30, para dar sentido concreto ao nosso compromisso brasileiro, que está na nossa NDC, que foi divulgado no final do ano passado, relacionado, por um lado, com o federalismo climático, que é uma responsabilidade nossa relacionada com a Constituição, e de outro, eu acho que é super importante ter isso, com o nosso compromisso com a coalizão para a ação climática multinível, a chamada CHAMP. Eu acho que não basta apenas a gente aderir à declaração. Acho que a gente tem que ter iniciativas para dar sentido real a esse compromisso de engajamento multinível, do nível territorial para o nível federal, das cidades, municípios, prefeitos, câmaras municipais, com os vereadores, com os movimentos sociais da cidade, construindo uma agenda de resiliência climática, de adaptação climática e de contribuição à mitigação e às metas que o Brasil se colocou em direção a uma construção nacional. É dessa forma que o Ministério das Cidades encara esse exercício.
Agradecemos a intervenção do embaixador Antônio da Costa, valorizamos muito essa parceria do ICLEI com o Ministério das Cidades do governo brasileiro. Isso tem, de fato, promovido uma perspectiva de materialização, de intercâmbio de experiências da agenda climática no contexto também do desenvolvimento territorial urbano, tanto no eixo da mitigação, que dialoga com as políticas setoriais exatamente no campo dos transportes e da mobilidade, da gestão de resíduos, na perspectiva da energia no campo das cidades e também no campo da adaptação aonde, de fato, as intervenções estruturantes para a habitação social, para a drenagem, macrodrenagem das cidades, também ganham uma repercussão e uma necessidade de integração vigorosa entre os diferentes níveis de governo. Então, agora nós vamos escutar a intervenção do ex-prefeito de Niterói, Axel Grael, que é também vice-presidente da Frente Nacional dos Prefeitos e, como eu mencionei anteriormente, lidera a ação climática no âmbito do Conselho Global do ICLEI.
Olá, eu quero fazer uma saudação a todos os participantes do Daring Cities, um encontro da maior importância, para se fazer o debate sobre essa transição para a sustentabilidade, e para os avanços, na agenda do clima. Eu participei do último encontro, que aconteceu em Bonn, e eu quero falar para vocês que nós estamos num ano super importante no Brasil, porque nós receberemos a COP30 aqui em Belém do Pará. Nós estamos acompanhando todos os preparativos que está sendo feito, para receber todas as delegações mundiais que vão se encontrar aqui. Há uma grande expectativa, porque essa conferência será aquela em que nós vamos renovar os NDCs. Então, é muito importante que essa conferência seja bem sucedida. Nós vivemos, um ambiente, uma conjuntura política, que nos preocupa, mas nós sabemos, que a força, de todas, a mobilização dos países para que a gente avance na agenda do clima é fundamental. Aqui no Brasil, nós estamos acompanhando vários lançamentos de políticas importantes, federais na área climática, e há uma grande mobilização das cidades também. Uma realidade hoje no Brasil é o que nós chamamos do federalismo climático, porque as políticas públicas, na área do clima são todas desenvolvidas, com a participação das 3 instâncias de governança do nosso país: a instância federal, os estados e as cidades. Eu faço parte da Frente Nacional de Prefeitos e também, do ICLEI, e nós temos trabalhado muito para organizar as cidades para que a participação dos governos locais seja cada vez mais efetivo, que com isso a gente possa promover as mudanças que são necessárias para que a gente chegue a um futuro próximo a uma realidade climática de muito mais resiliência e adaptação. Então, é com isso que eu me despeço de vocês, desejando que o encontro seja muito bem sucedido. Um abraço.
Muito obrigado ao ex-prefeito Axel Grael, nosso parceiro nessa caminhada de preparação para a COP30. Da parte do ICLEI América do Sul, dizer para todos vocês que nós estamos muito ansiosos, muito energizados para recebê-los novamente no Brasil, para ter vocês como parceiros no processo de preparação para a COP30, para que a conferência possa cumprir as suas promessas, não só de receber contribuições nacionalmente determinadas mais ambiciosas, mas também de ampliar a parceria e a aliança CHAMP, que coloca no seio dessas NDCs a agenda urbana e valoriza e dá protagonismo na agenda climática para as instâncias subnacionais de governo. Esse é o nosso propósito, promover de fato um fortalecimento da ação multinível na COP30 para que a gente possa de fato avançar com cidades melhores, com cidades com menos emissões de gases do efeito estufa e com cidades mais preparadas para enfrentar os eventos extremos da natureza. Muito obrigado e até a próxima.
For this facilitation and thanks to all our leaders. I think that makes a fantastic segue for our now. I'm very happy that Amelia has confirmed. I would like to start with her, especially connecting to the latest updates on CHAMP, but just wanted to underline, you have seen, we have Minister of Foreign Affairs, we have Minister of Cities, we will still hear from Minister of Environment. So that is really, and the networks of cities. So that's exactly what else we could ask for. Everyone is in the game, everybody is speaking the complementary languages. That gives us the chance that this leadership could help us to move forward. And if you remember the 10-page document of the vision, focusing on action, focusing on moving further, is exactly, we can say that the legacy from COP30 will be much, much, much better than ever before. that of course also is an opportunity that we will have to benefit from. So after Amalia, I'm also very happy that I'm informed that my colleagues Lea Ranalda from UNHabitat is also here, and we had a slide on the NDCs. Maybe she can refer the work of the UNHabitat to how to help nations and networks to improve the urban component of the NDC 3 points at the NDC 3.0. Amalia, the floor is yours. If you would like to share any slides, feel free. If not, we just listen to you. You should be able to speak now because you are now elevated to a panelist.
Oh, hello. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. Sorry, I just didn't have my camera on. Thanks
No
so much,
worries.
Eunice, as always, for the great assessment of the landscape. For those who don't know me, I'm Amelia. I'm working at GCOM in the joint program with C40. I'm a senior advocacy manager working on CHAMP. So yeah, I just wanted to share a couple of quick updates. And Eunice, you mentioned, of course, the NDCs. So we've been doing a bit of work looking at sort of how CHAMP principles have been reflected here in principles of multi-level governance and partnership. And we're delighted that 6 out of the 8 NDCs that we've seen from CHAMP partners are much better on subnational inclusion. And we're going to be doing some further analysis on this. And I know lots on the call are as well. I'm not able to see who's here today on the call, but I know that lots of partners and colleagues are contributing to the success and implementation of CHAMP. So I think really to ensure that we're connecting everyone's activities and information sharing, it'll be really good to reinstate a sort of CHAMP working group of the LGMA soon. And then I think the last thing I wanted to just touch on was some upcoming events. So Eunice, it was fab to hear about the Petersburg dialogue. We're really looking forward to hearing a readout on that. It'd be great to understand sort of what statements might be made to the floor from LGMA and if there's a way we can sort of support to bring CHAMP into that, which I know you'll be thinking about. And then I wanted to mention that we're working towards the Springbank meetings as sort of a next big milestone moment, which I know, again, lots on the call will be thinking about. And we're really seeing this as a key moment to advance dialogue between CHAMP endorsers, subnational leaders, multi-development banks and bilateral donors, of course, on the question of access to subnational climate finance. So that was a bit of a rattle through. I'll post my details in the chat if anyone wants to connect on any of this. Thanks, Eunice.
Amelia, and I think we could touch upon this at the closing, which is the agenda in Bonn, where we hope to have the daring cities also hosting the second time the dialogue with the CHAMP focal points of the UNFCCC process. So that's then we can feed all this. Coming to the Petersburg dialogue, I suggest we shape it. I will share it once again in the morning. I sent it to the group, but the agenda of Petersburg climate dialogue is really, for the first time ever, they are opening the door for COP governance and this 10-page vision. I think now we can combine these two, and that is also very likely that the recommendation from my side that could be the basis of the LGMA key COP30 position, focusing on 4 blocks like our journey towards COP, which is the NDC 3.0, making them multi-level, and the town hall COP. So that is the one element. Our agenda in Belém, the pavilion, the hub, and this mitigation and emerging topics. Beyond Belém, what will we do after Belém? This is the third area we can discuss, especially in connection to the other sustainability agendas. And the fourth is, what is our vision for the UNFCCC governance? Because now we are really able to put an effort on that, because let's remember, action agenda was always an issue that was out. But now that this vision, both from the Brazilian partners and the door is now open for a new governance, which has to be also taking into account the UN changing a lot. I think that's the right moment. So the 4 building blocks could be what we can work on, and of course, this is just a suggestion, but we are, I think, making progress. We do not have any official intervention during the Petersburg. The format is that we can intervene in the breakout groups, so it's like more informal. If there's a chance, maybe we can, but there's not guarantee. Let's see how we will move forward. Now you have referred to the NDCs. I have my colleague Lea, who is been leading the analysis of the urban component of NDCs for years as UN Habitat, and now they are preparing to prepare. They are on the way to prepare a new supplement, which is a guidance on how to improve the urban components in the upcoming NDC 3.0. Leah, I see you're joining now. Happy to hear your updates or perspectives on that.
Great. Thanks so much, Yunus, and hi, everyone. Good to be here with you. Hello from Nairobi. I think you already gave a good overview. I hope you're familiar with this overview of the urban content of the NDCs. So this is, so to say, the urban content of the NDCs 2.0. And what we're working towards right now is two different things. The first thing is a toolkit, a guideline really specifying these are the different things that should be reflected in a country's NDC in order to get a strong rating for their next NDCs. And this also will have a reference on not only making sure that you have a strong urban content, but also that the process and how you get there is really incorporating local governments as well. So that's something that's currently under review. I'm happy to put the link in the chat in case anybody would like to have a look at it. The idea is it's short, it's a very visual guide. We want to make this as simple as possible. We've also pulled out quite a few examples of NDCs 2.0 on the different sectors of how they've incorporated cities into that language, just to make it really clear this is an example of how it's been done in the past. So that's the one thing. It's currently under review. I mean, we're starting to put in already all the great comments that are there. I'm happy to put the link in the chat. Appreciate if your feedback can come as quickly as possible, just because the quicker we have your feedback, the quicker we can publish it. And I think this guideline is hopefully going to be useful. We're hoping to publish it in late March. That's of course a bit ambitious, but hoping that it can be out then. And then as a second thing is we want, this is the guideline, we will have a bit of capacity in-house to also do webinars, to present this. If there is any national governments who are interested in getting a one-to-one presentation on how they could go about this, we can do that. So please, if there's any partners from your network that'd like to learn more, we're happy to collaborate. Apologies. And then as a second thing is we of course want to be ready by COP30 in updating this map. And hopefully by COP30, this map looks a lot more dark blue, because we would have a lot more countries, a lot more parties that have strong urban content. So the idea is we will not be able to do a full analytical 250-page report by COP30, but that's also not necessary. We really want to update this number with the preliminary data that will exist. We all know that there will be NDCs that will be published a day before COP. That will be a bit difficult to analyze by COP30, but to give an updated picture of how this will look like is what we're working towards. So at least by COP30, we can see where do we stand, which direction are we going. Back to you, Yunus, and thanks so much.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you. It's really a great resource. I can even share that in the Sydney Tunnel COP, our colleagues were already using this reference document. So on the way towards COP30, once this document is available, we can also use it, that it's used in the Tunnel COPs that's coming up. But one thing that I think will be curious to see, because, for example, we hear from Amelia that although 7 NDCs were submitted by the champ, not all of them were considered as strong or very good. There are some who are not in champ but still strong. So this definition or assessment will be interesting to see how do we interpret, what do we mean by it, and it's always good to make this benchmarking and also making it always a push that it could be better. From our side, what we have seen was really very progressive changes. Even from those in the dark blues, there was a much better when they were presented in the one that was presented in the past couple of weeks. For example, Canadian, the UK were excellent in the way they have improved. So they have even get darker and darker. So let's continue this discussion. And of course, on the way towards COP30, key moment with UN Habitat is that UN Habitat Assembly will be coming at the end of May. That will be an important moment that urban ministers will play a role. That's good because that's not a any annual meeting. So it's such an opportunity that just before COP, just before UN climate talks, the urban ministers can have a discussion. And I know together with UN Habitat, together with Minister of Cities, we will do our best that there is some good political signals, maybe not necessary decisions, but political signals that could motivate our work. And then we will present all these outcomes in June in Bonn at the Daring Cities. So a very busy agenda. Maybe I can continue. I see there may be colleagues who would be contributing, so we can still leave a Q&A session at the end. We still have around 15 minutes. Just an update on the town hall COPs. You may remember this visual where we are saying that together with NDCs 3.0, and let's say it's not just mitigation for us, NDCs 3.0 is a new climate plan, is a new national climate plan, which has to address both mitigation and adaptation so that it is encompassing it. And the way we introduce ourselves, the work you may have remember from the Brazilian National Front of Mayors, Mayor Grael, the word climate federalism definitely was influenced by the resolution of FNP, like what the German Deutsche Städtetag or US Conference of Mayors done last year. So that there is a route by the national associations. Individual town halls could play a role and they could bring this into the process. They can push their national associations, they can push their national government, but through LGMA, they can always have a space in the UNFCCC to demonstrate that they are part of this process. And in particular, when we are seeing that in Belém, when there will be the challenge of logistical participation, we would like to make sure that the debate in Belém and the ownership from the outcome of Belém is not limited only to those who were in person in Belém, which makes us that if this could be developed through town hall COPs, it's not just the thousands, but hundreds of thousands of people at every corner of the world can say that they are part of this process. We have seen this first example in Sydney. It was a remarkable experience that we have heard thanks to ICLE Oceania and GCOM Oceania, Sydney, Greater Sydney area councils. We were very happy to have a federal government of Australia, Minister of Environment, and state government also who were involved in the NDC process. They were part of the debate. We will hear a brief assessment of this experience in the next Daring Cities webinar on the 9th of April. But what we are now assessing that town hall COPs is literally giving us the opportunity to evolve or to elevate the local action in three main areas, which is community-led. So it's not just nationally determined, but it is community-led, where local and regional governments play a key role. It is national relevant, so that they relate themselves to the national process. They can try to influence or they can benefit. So two ways of working. And the third, transformation oriented, so that it is really moving our livelihoods, our communities into a better state of life that is friendly to climate, but also inclusive, addressing just transition, so that it is really the new type of civilization we'd like to build, which is under huge threat, so that creating such a momentum at the local level is also an opportunity for those who are believing in the idea of global collaboration to counterbalance the growing pressure at the local and national level on fragmented approaches, on the deconstruction of this global collaboration. So it is an opportunity that we introduce our power, convening power, to shape the agenda at the local, national, and global level. So we will hear that those who would like to convene these town hall COPs can register their sessions starting from 22nd of April, so that then we can map who is doing what and how can they influence their national NDC 3.0, or how they can help implementation of it. Our ideal is that by the COP30, we have minimum 30 town hall COPs globally that is reflecting a representative vision of this process. Our last slide is, as we said, the Daring Cities Bonn dialogues. As we said, the reflection, the video that you have seen was the first video, the first webinar on the 5th of March. The next one is coming on the 9th of April. And the in-person participate will be in Bonn during the UN Climate Conference, the SP62. The first 3 days will be our four focus areas, 16, 17, 18. On the 17th, we want to be in the UNFCCC, in the UN compound, and on the 18th, we want to be in the GIZ auditorium so that we can both have a dialogue on the national level and the international process, but also build our experience on how we're advancing multi-level action and how we're bringing topics like IPCC or business engagement into this process. So more updates coming up there soon. Agat has a question. Do national governments participate in the town hall? This is exactly the purpose. We want them to come either to present or to listen and take note and take it back, or afterwards receive inputs. The way it was achieved in Australia was that Australian national government, the federal government, sent representatives. They were part of the debate. There was a presentation of the existing Australian indices. They shared updates about how the next steps of Australian industry will evolve, being aware there's an election in Australia, and they expressed their motivation and praise that such a process is also helping the Australian government's efforts. So these are the things that we would like to bring as outcome from Sydney that shapes or that motivates others on the way forward as well. Yes, our guide about how to organize a town hall call will be presented, the first draft, on the 9th of April at the Daring Cities. And then we will make sure that by the time we launch our registration portal, they can also be downloadable. And we are happy to share this with our partners so that they can provide their input so that you can also shape and that you don't necessarily limit yourself, but take it as a starting point and even enrich it with your contributions. I'm more than happy that our colleagues could work with you to develop it. And as we have said before, for us, and remembering this diagram, it is an opportunity to complement the NDCs, national government, just like UN Habitat's guiding to the national governments. It's a guidance to our local government so that they can then have a discussion. And as I said, the document from UN Habitat, the vision from CHAMP have always enriched the discussion in Sydney and hopefully on others as well. But since now we are over, I'm more than happy if other colleagues who would like to intervene, either like questions that you type here for, as you mentioned, or raise your hand so that Joanna can turn you so that you can verbally express yourself as well. Either Agath, Oscar, or others who are on the line, or any other topics that for the moment, by the time we missed, you can raise this back again. Toby, I see Toby from under two. Excellent, Toby. Great to see you joining us. Johanna, are we able to have Toby intervening verbally or visually?
Hello. Hi, can you hear me okay?
Excellent.
Great.
And we hear you.
Thank you, Eunice. I just wanted to come in quickly on the Baku to Belém roadmap and the deadline that's this Friday. The Under2 Coalition has been coordinating a submittal on that about elevating the role of states and regions in A, contributing to the climate finance gap, and B, a need for greater access and the different tools at their disposal to achieve that via country platforms or different mechanisms. And wanted to raise in this space if anyone would like to contribute or see that. I know we only have 2 days to go, but I'm more than happy to help collaborate or align if anyone else is working on this point.
Excellent. Toby, yesterday there was a call of the SDSN Urban Finance Commission. You may remember we have invited them to take the lead in the LGMA Finance Working Group. I know my colleague from ICLE, and they will be having a call today. We have already given some ideas, and I'm more than happy to connect you to my colleague John, so that your inputs could be incorporated. Unfortunately, yes, the preparations should have been started earlier, and we are lagging behind. But I think it's still not the final document that we will share. This is just the beginning, so we can make it much better. And definitely, your inputs will be very helpful. I also see in this group, for example, our colleagues from Claudia, from those who are following the loss and damage agenda. Are there anyone from Regions 4 or Committee of the Regions, so that they can share also their preparations on the adaptation submission, which is also end of the month. So that's also work in progress, but we will share it further. By the way, I see Sharon Govender from ICLEI Oceania, who was the instrumental in leading our work on Sydney. Feel free, as you have seen, there were some questions, Sharon. And I see Pablo also from UCLG, who is also leading the loss and damage work. Feel free to provide us any updates that you would like to see here, or to make our colleagues be aware of. We still have 3 minutes to go. If not, as we said, we will continue, obviously. Oscar, would you like to mention a couple of updates from the Rwanda experience? I see also Ladislas, former Secretary General, I assume voluntarily he's still supporting the work, though he doesn't have his mandate anymore, but our colleague Dominic is leading this. I think Oscar left, so he may not be able to intervene.
I'm still in.
Great to hear you.
Thank you, Yunus. Actually, the update I can provide, if you allow, is mainly for our last week event, an important event where we partner event with ICLEI Africa. We organized a high-level local government consultative workshop on NDC3. Actually, it was the platform provided a unique opportunity for local government to engage in climate policy discussions. And actually, we are glad that there were some intakes from the local government that were proposed and considered as relevant as new additions to the previously proposed interventions, like around 14 interventions that were considered. So these meetings was organized last week, 11 to 12 March. And we organized this in collaboration with the Rwanda Environment Management Agency, REMA. So we are very glad that we could actually have that interesting opportunity policy dialogue exchange. And we hosted almost the vice mayor from all the districts and the city of Kigali and the technicians. So we had interesting takeaways, including like proposing to have a balanced focus on adaptation and mitigation, which is very essential, including also the aspect of climate finance mobilization at all levels. And actually also the element of capacity building in agriculture and climate action technology, which is also considered as a key priority for the local government. And also the engagement of private sector, actually, which must play also an important role in NDC implementation at all levels. So the local government have to work hand in hand with private sector towards their commitments to the NDC, especially in line with the local economic development programs. So that's what I can say briefly about the progress. We're hoping that maybe the final document will be ready as from what colleague from REMA said, will be ready towards May or June this year. So we look forward to keep collaboration with ICLEI and other partners actually to reflect on how actually we can support the local government to be well equipped to deliver on these commitments toward the NDC3 implementation. So thank you for the opportunity.
Excellent outcomes, an excellent demonstration of leadership once again. Congratulations, Oscar, Ralga, Rema, So we look forward to your outcomes and happy to disseminate further, especially at the June session in Bonn as well. So that's the moment where we can even make it even much more prominently represented. And I know my colleagues from CHAMP coordination, they're also here, Rwanda being an active member of and nurse of CHAMP. That's an excellent example of for going forward. I see Pablo from UCLG hand raised. Pablo, in 1 or 2 minutes, knowing that some of our colleagues may be starting to leave the room. So the floor is yours. Thank you very much for joining us.
Sorry. Yeah, Yunus, I just wanted to quickly point out that 2 days ago we had a meeting with the executive director, well, a consultation with the executive director of the board of the Loss and Damage Fund. There still seems to be, even though local and regional government access to the fund is baked into the text of that created the fund, there's still no sure way on how that's being materialized. We're advocating for, of course, the direct access of local and regional governments to the fund, but also for consultation mechanisms from the constituency to the fund, which are not really being ensured yet, as we are not part of the constituencies that are being proposed as consultative to the board. So even though there will be no direct decision on those constituencies by the next board meeting, which will be I think in Barbados in April, earlier April, we are in the process of ensuring an advocacy pathway to make that a reality, and possibly this will be discussed later in the year, before or after COP30. So the loss and damage working group needs to meet now and propose the pathway towards that.
Excellent. Thanks, Pablo, and thanks for taking this process. As you have mentioned, the active observer structure was just announced before the meeting in Philippines, in Manila last year, and I think UCLG leadership, our Philippines Association, the governors, and C40 colleagues on behalf of LGMA really showed that this has to change, and we heard things will be happening. It's still work in progress. Nothing is agreed, so nothing is lost yet. But we definitely have to put pressure, and that's why these consultations and continuity of our work is so important. Let's make sure that in June we use these opportunities in the coming days. I'm not sure whether we will be able to be in person in Barbados. That's a challenge, especially knowing that this agenda will be in the other meeting, not this one. So let's move forward and especially make sure that our dialogue with the CEO of the board and the co-chairs of the board and the members of the board, we improve. There are a lot of let's say nodes that we can trigger so that we are at the final structure, we are there and strong. Once again, thanks for your leadership, and we'll stay in touch. I had a question from our colleague who were asking the recording. Definitely you will receive it tomorrow, because we have another session at 4 p.m. And then you will receive the presentation and the recordings as well. Through this opportunity, I'd like to thank you all. We are just over the time, but I think this was a very helpful and rich and inspirational dialogue that gives us the hope that in those dark moments, we are still powerful. Dark moments meaning both at the national level, but at the local level. The latest example I heard from the mayor of Istanbul this morning under custody, which is a big concern in terms of the local democracy and multi-level action. We hope the justice will come soon so that it is respected as appropriate. We wish him and other local leaders the best of their success and patience, and the Union of Turkish Municipalities, as well as other leaders who are doing their best to support this process so that local democracy is preserved and protected. Thank you very much, and wish you the best.